In the top left, already sending a probe out. He is the red Protoss from Exxon, I believe. It is MaxPax.
Ooh, okay.
All right, your dragon.
This I'm on board with, all right? Because
your time to shine.
Quickly to mention the cannon rush stuff. The reason why is cannon rushes want an area that you can kind of go into a little divot, build a couple of pylons, create a wall, and make it difficult for your opponent to actually break through while you get up your first cannon. This, however, submarine, small map going for the proxy gateway, and on the other side of the map, PtitDrogo's finally gonna get his gateway scout out, which is, you know, the more normal time. You go for a gateway or sometimes a cybercore scout. It's gonna take a while for Drogo to actually realize that the gateway was proxied, and he may not be prepared for this, because I think this is gonna turn into like a shield battery meme. I think.
Yeah, I could see that. I was wondering if it was going to be, but then I saw the gateway and I was like, well, definitely not immediately. I'm curious how this works. Drogo is going to have more production, faster 7x core, and it's kind of inevitable that a Protoss scouts. There is a chance that Drogo just scouted probes for a proxy and then missed the proxy. That is possible, and never scouted the actual main. That seems like a really difficult thing to like risk your game on. Most Protosses do scout each other usually after that second gateway. So how does this really work? Stalkers are already on the way. MaxPax might get a probe or two.
Yeah, was that MaxPax's pylon? Was he?
I think
he was blocking it from being walled off. Yeah. Like you said, a probe or two. Looks like he's actually going to get 3. That's way more than he should have been able to get there. I'm with you. Like, that actually really should not have done that much. Maybe should have bought a little bit of time. But this is tough now because, yeah, you're right. Like, it's 2 gateways versus 1. I really thought this was going to be a bit more committed here from MaxPax, but you're right. Like, even the Cybercore was later. He's not proxying another building there because there's no way he's going to actually get up enough units here in time to defend it.
I don't see the game plan. I can't look into this future. If this was versus Terran, I'd be like, oh, yeah. You know, the MaxPax, right? But it's not, and it's not that. So the best thing he can do is try and keep Drogo on Drogo's side of the map. But with only one, okay, well, it does barely get the 2 adepts out. With only 2 adepts still, and Drogo being an experienced Protoss who is used to blocking out adepts, I don't think MaxPax can really keep him on the side of the map that long. Drogo should be scared of a 1-base Stargate, and maybe that's going to cause him not to send his stalkers across the map. Plus his pylon, but MaxPax just goes right into Immortal Phoenix.
You know what my best guess is on what the plan here was? Is that Drogo maybe had seen this before, maybe had played against it or something. And maybe the plan here for MaxPax was to go for like that proxy gate, scare Drogo a little bit, but have the Nexus behind it. But Drogo, when he went for the scout, as soon as he saw there wasn't a gateway, he went for the pylon block. So maybe this is just a situation that looks really silly because MaxPax basically just got hard denied on his game plan. I'm not sure. Like this is a weird one to me, Zymagon. I'm trying to make sense of it.
Oh yeah, I commend the effort, and you might just be the most right. It's the best guess. I feel like this is actually the first time I've seen this, though. I'm getting flashbacks to MaxPax being on 1 base with Phoenix Immortal. That said, I'm pretty sure he lost that game, so it's not like I forgot about some brilliant strategy. Immortal Phoenix does. I mean, with the Immortal especially, it quickly becomes powerful, right? Because the Phoenix can take out the numbers equation, and then the Immortal, it's like just being an Immortal can take on multiple Stalkers. So say he got 6 Stalkers against 1 Immortal, 2 Phoenix. Actually, defensively, MaxPax probably okay. But this leads into a macro game, which MaxPax is good at. He is good at. It's just one that I feel Drogo is going to be like, yes, thank you. Yeah, this is thank God. Like, this is what I wanted. I didn't want to be Cannon Rush or Cheese or whatever it is.
Yeah. Phoenix in a macro game like this, oh man, he needs to. This is actually so painful. So for those who don't know, most people know about the adept interaction with shield batteries, where 2 adepts will one-shot a probe through the shield battery, right? Or 2 oracles. Phoenix also have to attack at the same time in order to kill a probe through the shield battery. It's usually not a problem because usually the Phoenix will both attack as soon as the probe is lifted up. But yeah, MaxPax actually should have been able to get a little bit more damage done there. And I was going to say, like, that is the power of the Phoenix, is that you can, at least if it goes to a macro game, keep your opponent on a gradually lower worker count and take an edge with your tech and stuff behind that. But I do think once Drogo finishes a blink, like that's where everything starts changing for Drogo.
The nice thing about Phoenix nowadays is that as soon as the Protoss finds out, like, oh, you're going Phoenix, they just go in a blink. Blink's what you would probably be going for anyways. So at one point, you know, months ago, in the meta would be like, but it's not like ideal to have blink. I guess MaxPax's gonna get the stronger composition. So, and on top of any Phoenix harassment he could be getting, that would be great. But nowadays, we see the power of Stalkers, and Drogo, knowing it's a Stargate, also doesn't have to worry necessarily about being attacked immediately. So he also gets this faster +1. And with Blink, he would also hope to get a faster third base. Like, it still feels like Drogo is going to be fine with this game plan, even though MaxPax's is not terrible with Immortal Phoenix. I do still question the opener, but the rest of the game plan is fine.
Yeah,
he's going to get so many Immortals, too. 4 and maybe even more.
I think my biggest fear here is that Drogo is going to be able to move across the map and jump into like the main base or something of MaxPax and just wreak havoc with Blink Stalkers. But if Drogo's on the defensive, I don't know, like this maybe doesn't look as bad as I thought for MaxPax, because those Immortals, like you said, they're like power units. If he gets 5 Immortals across the map and the Phoenix are just there to lift up or take Stalkers out of the fight and everything, like, I don't know. I can see worlds where this works in the right circumstance.
I don't think Drogo risks moving out, because if you make the wrong decision against Phoenix, suddenly, you know, what turns out from like this shouldn't be bad kind of turns bad. Especially if the Immortals also find the Stalkers. In this case, Stalkers finding 2 Phoenix is absolutely wonderful. And MaxPax is hoping to control that situation a little bit more. He'd actually been the first one to move out. Now is forced to retreat back into the Immortals, but this is the scenario I was just describing for Drogo. He's like, oh yeah, I can take on this army, and then, well, not as much as he would think, especially because half of his army was on the left side now joining up.
He does reset the Phoenix count. So like this actually is going to allow him and enable him to move out safely, because 2 Phoenix, what are they really going to do? A 3rd Phoenix is on the way, sure, but this is maybe the moment. You can go in, snipe off the shield battery really quickly. Goes after a sentry. You might even get another Phoenix over here, but no, not going to be able to.
Well, if Drogo isn't going to win the Stalkers, he's still got the faster Nexus. He's had a slightly better economy kind of this entire game. Check the income graph. Actually, not as
I think MaxPax, he picked off a lot of workers with this Phoenix, so I think MaxPax had a worker lead for a lot of it.
I don't think he did. Well, he did pick off 11 probes, so I think maybe at some points he did. But whenever I would check back on Drogo's like probe count, I was like, that's not that bad, really. But yeah, you might be right about that. There really aren't that much of a difference just overall in that graph. MaxPax has bigger spikes. But anyways, the army is still going to go into charge out Archon, it looks like. And Drogo is going to have that faster upgrade. And I feel like the Immortal count might actually start hurting MaxPax as more Zealots and Archons get included.
Yeah. As more Archons get added in over here, this is definitely going to become complicated, but Templar Archons or MaxPax is close to finishing. The only problem is I think the fight's going to be taken before that finishes, before some Archons of his own can be morphed in. One Immortal also gets force fielded into the Zealots. The Stalkers managed to get the pick off over there, and MaxPax frankly just cannot get into his natural. Like, this is a massive problem. He cannot find the way to get in here to defend. There is it.
Even if he did, I mean, Drogo won that fight without even all those Zealots I was talking about.
Yeah.
He won it with the Stalkers and Force Field. So even if MaxPax was in position, he was at a lower army supply. And I think his composition just did kind of drop off. You know, the Phoenix, I mean, especially because they were killed. That's another reason they really dropped off. I guess you could say if he had like 7 Phoenix or however many he really wanted to have, yeah, probably could have changed things around a lot. He kept on bleeding them out, and I don't know. Drogo didn't really, I think, ever fall into any of those traps that can happen in those weirder games where they're like, oh, I'm doing the normal thing, I'm gonna win, like I'm just gonna run at you. Or maybe some worse Protosses would have done that. It's like, you know, it's like for MaxPax's build, I was like, I see the idea, I see the potential, but I'm not surprised that Drogo also just summed it up and went, no, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah, it felt like MaxPax tried something and got shut down very hard early on. And from there, it's what we were just talking about, right? Even with how powerful the army and immortal accounts look, and how the Phoenix are controlling the map and everything, things like look not that bad for MaxPax. He's playing from behind from that point, right? So he has to make it up, and Drogo just did a great job of carrying forward the early shutdown into eventually a lead and a victory.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. But I think that is one of those one-off, like, submarine as a small map builds. I'm assuming. We move into Death Aura. I'm expecting either a cannon rush or a more normal game. It's like one of the two.
I am just going to wait and see, man. I'm not even gonna guess. Drogo, maybe if he was up against one of the usual Protosses he's up against, he could also be the type to throw out something wacky, but I don't think he is going to get dragged down to MaxPax's style of play. It is his best bet to just continue forward. And Macro in the top left, can he do something else, something a little bit weirder? It is the red Protoss, MaxPax.
And down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player from Team Raise Your Edge Gaming. He is PtitDrogo. Okay, MaxPax, your pylon placements. I thought it was just last game because you went for the proxy gate. You really like putting your pylon as a part of the wall, MaxPax. That's fascinating.
Some Protosses do this though. I know, what's it? Everdream can be popular for this too. That's actually one of the reasons that did you see the Hearthstone PvP, Hearthstone Mana?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was an awkward cannon rush overall, but another thing that happened with Hearthstone was that he couldn't place down a cannon because his pylon had to be in the middle as opposed to the right, because Mana put his pylon on the right. So this is not why they do it. It was just one of those things that I learned later that I was like, oh, okay. But the biggest reason you would do this is that you can build a shield battery without having to put another pylon on the low ground. So if you are being harassed, like stalkers just run forward across the map, you can have a shield battery on the low ground.
That makes sense. I was gonna say the Mana Hearthstone game, I was like, didn't that end because Hearthstone he walled out his own pro?
Yeah, so I don't know, because I don't know if it was Print F or someone else, but they actually commented like he also couldn't build a cannon with the field anymore.
No, yeah.
The low ground. Yeah.
That was absolutely true. He can't. Yeah, he canceled I think he either canceled the wrong pylon or the correct pylon got killed. Basically, yeah, that was a problem.
Gotcha. Yeah, but yeah, it was kind of an awkward thing. But anyways, I just wanted to, that was one of the examples of someone using the pylon placement that MaxPax is. But anyways, more importantly, Stargate is on the way. This is a more typical way of playing PvP. It might be a proxy, but it's totally expected.
Indeed, and it's going to be just ever so slightly closer. It's the typical PvP. This will be harder to scout because it's somewhere randomly out on the map. And Drogo's even going to be able to deny the worker scout. And managed to get down a pylon, so these stalkers are at least going to stick at home for a little bit longer. Sometimes the stalkers do find an opportunity. They move across the map. They actually manage to push in, and you see, oh, well, you actually just don't have anything here. My other two stalkers will rally out and deal with any adepts, and the stalkers can find like a proxy or something. But, well, Drogo, he's looking around. That probe might actually find one, but I think the stalkers are going to be too far away to do anything about it.
Oh, absolutely. But he'll still know about it at least.
Yeah.
And that's won't just give him an idea of to defense, which he's already building a shield battery. Like, he already was very suspicious. But also as to what to do afterwards. You know, like instead of never finding the proxy and never knowing because you can't get back into the main base because you don't have one of the earlier sentries. Go, oh yeah, Stargate. Okay, I know what to do against this.
The adepts, though. The adepts are actually making their way in. Drogo, does he have the probe ready to build a shield battery? Yes, he does. All right. I was going to say the adepts actually managed to skirt past the stalkers without the stalkers actually seeing them. So there's maybe an opportunity for that, but not going to happen. Drogo's just way too on top of everything.
Drogo's got everything on lockdown. It's not the worst thing ever to lose access to your proxy Stargate after getting an Oracle, but I feel like you really want at least 2 Oracles, you know, have that potential. And then obviously you want this to do something. Finding 2 Stalkers wouldn't be terrible as long as he saves the Oracle, which he will.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely not something. Oracle wasn't getting damage otherwise. And gonna repower the Stargate. All right, cheeky. I like it. Yeah, I think it's not been an amazing start so far for MaxPax. It feels like he's kind of getting swatted away at every angle, but oh, finds 2 probes. I don't think that depth's getting out of there though.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those things where, I mean, this isn't really a comeback matchup until Disruptors, you could say, but I feel like this is the type of place where it's not great for MaxPax. There's plenty of things that can happen from here on out that's going to really change things, right? So by repowering the Stargate, getting 2 Oracles, he could easily find 7 probes, maybe at 7 minutes when it's not as good, but still, he could do that. And one thing he has an advantage here is he has faster blink, but it is at the sacrifice of not having a faster +1, or to be something missing.
Oh, Stalkers, if they were paying attention there for Drogo, would have seen that another Oracle was just made, so he's going to know Shield Battery alone is not going to cover that mineral line anymore. Got to leave some Stalkers there, but the Oracles are actually going after the Stalkers at the same time the Adepts are trying to shade forward. Oracles were going to actually win that fight as well. 2 Oracles, 2 Stalkers. Yeah, that's a nice little pick off there, and saving the Stargate is definitely nice.
I mean, I don't know how much he's going to use it, but like later down the line, it creates
yeah, one thing I'm always a fan of is when a Protoss player, we haven't actually seen any Warp Prisms in this series so far, which is actually a little bit strange to me. But I guess given the way that first game went. But I was going to say, like, when there's a Warp Prism around and it's just causing all sorts of pain and suffering with like 2 Immortals inside of it or something, I love when Protoss players just like, just get 1 Phoenix. Just kill the Warp Prism hard. Dead.
Yeah. He can get a Phoenix against a Warp Prism. He can warp in DTs a bit closer, which he's going to Dark Shrine. And if it went into the super long game, by having the Stargate alive at all, he can quicker go into a Fleet Beacon. You know, some things that can help out. I am mostly paying attention to the Dark Shrine, though, and Drogo is going to be checking around for that as well. Where is it? It's in the back of the main. That Phoenix might see it, though. There's nothing to stop it. Here come the Stalkers. They want to stop it. They're going to stop it. They got it. They got it.
Yep. Hard shut down on the scout there, and not even seeing all the gas guys just taken just yet. The 4th gas guys are there at that natural, not taken, so it's not like there's some crazy excess of gas, and you're like, what are you using it on or anything? It's the same thing as how Drogo is. So I feel like, yeah, there's maybe an opportunity here. Let's see. There's still no Robo, right? No, sorry. The Robo just finished up there for Drogo, yeah.
Yeah.
Observer.
You know, if you had gone for an actual, like, 2 base as fast as possible DTs, of course, Drogo's build is vulnerable to that. But he knew that if DTs were going to come along and be later, and the only mistake he could have done is just think he needs an Immortal instead of an Observer, which you don't actually really build an Immortal that much at this point in the game either. So at least 1 Observer is out. The Robo now can also provide that Warp Prism, which is more likely what it was for. The DTs are headed into the natural.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's nice is that the Oracles are keeping a lot of Stalkers in the main, and there's also a bunch of Stalkers at the front door because of the army, so he's actually able to spread out Drogo. Even with 1 Observer out, the DT's spreading out, and the fact that the Stalkers have to spread out, well, this is maybe an opportunity over here. Oracle's even finding a few more workers here, but now that Blink is there for Drogo, he's able to blink forward aggressively, sniping off a handful of Stalkers. He might lose another pylon or something in the main base, but no, even that's going to actually get saved here. So Drogo takes a tiny bit of damage, but honestly, at the end of the day, okay, well, losing the Warp Prism's not great, but I was going to say it was a decent defense.
I don't know how you really defend that much better, aside from finding the 2 DTs immediately, of course. But in that situation, Drogo did kind of make the best of a bad scenario by pulling the probes immediately, by picking up that Warp Prism, by taking the 3rd attack seriously. He had so many things to consider, and he does end up becoming behind, 14 probes down. So that was a decent amount of damage for sure, but MaxPax now needs that better army. He's going to be behind him +2. Another Warp Prism is instantly being rebuilt. I feel like MaxPax actually holds, though. I think he's fine. Shield Battery and Overcharge.
Yeah, I think Shield Battery, that's a good point, and especially since the Warp Prism got picked off, like it delays everything. +2 weapons, I think is going to be really potentially big here, especially if Drogo hits, if he goes right now, because I know he's busy dealing with this Oracle. He does snipe off 1 of them, which is big, but I was going to say, he's going to hit with his own +2 weapons before MaxPax has +2 weapons of his own or charge. If there are charge loss in the mix, I actually think those reinforcements make a world of difference, but maybe there's this little window here for Drogo.
It's so tough though, because MaxPax, one of the things he's not doing is warping in. He's actually trying to save money for the robotics and start building disruptors. But if he was warping in, this actually would be a much closer army fight. +2 is a big deal. Charge not quite done. A single immortal could be easily target fired, which is exactly what Drogo goes for. Already a tough situation for MaxPax, as now, of course, he's desperately warping in. Hey, is it too late already?
Yeah, Drogo almost loses that observer. Very important to keep that alive when your opponent has a Dark Shrine available to him. Field Battery Overcharge does get utilized, and he's going to end up finally having to expire over at that third base. Drogo just has a few more Stalkers as his opponent, but this DT is actually shut down all mining of the natural. No, I take it back. The DT does get picked off by a probe. Citizen's Arrest. +2 weapons so close to finishing here for MaxPax, but I actually think even just if he can warp in some charge loss from behind, he'll catch the Stalkers that are actually trying to blink back that are damaged.
Yeah, exactly. He might be having a bit of a warp gate, just accessibility problem. He's got 7 of them, but he can't quite spend all of his money. A blink backwards from Drogo's aggressive blink. MaxPax also had an opportunity to kill that warp prism and did not quite get it. He's got 1 DT that actually helped clean up some Stalkers and Zealots that were in the natural. It does finally go down, and because Drogo picked off the Robo, MaxPax can't go into Disruptors and can't rebuild Observers to even try and do the desperate DT thing. But I think his Stalker count's actually fine, and now he also has +2. Drogo isn't going to win with this fight, I believe, if he really wants to.
Yeah, and even though there are a couple of Zealots that get segmented off to do a probe harassment, there's a cannon there that actually ends up buying a bit of time, so now MaxPax is able to warp in a few charge lots of his own. This is still a really, really tense situation, but MaxPax is going up in supply at this point. He's sitting up a lot of workers, so his production's just going to be better, and as more charge lots come in from behind, the Stalker's going to have a hard time blinking back too much further to safety when you're getting hit from both sides.
MaxPax isn't feeling so confident to blink aggressively, as many of his Stalkers are quite weak, but Drogo's army supply has plummeted. It's the reverse of what it started. It's now down 15, and now perhaps he's going to lose that Warp Prism. Nope, no blink available, so that might be able to buy some more time, and maybe we go into Disruptor Wars. After all, Drogo just stopped MaxPax from getting to that too quickly. But MaxPax is in a hurry. He's going to build 2 Robos to make up for time, while Drogo builds his Robotics Bay.
Yeah, getting up the double Robo is always really a nice play when your first Robo's a bit later, because, yeah, you can double pump those Disruptors out, and even though your first Disruptor will be later, you eventually play that catch-up there and eventually overtake your opponent. But I love that MaxPax is still continuing little bits of harassment with like 1 or 2 DTs that were still alive. Even sniping off 2 workers is going to be kind of annoying here, because remember, MaxPax has the stellar economy already. He's got 67 workers. He didn't really lose a whole lot during those fights. Whereas Drogo was still losing workers to like DT harassment and everything during the engagements while he was pushing.
MaxPax has simply had the better mining. Drogo was quite desperate to win with that push. He certainly had an opportunity in the very first, 30 seconds, minute of that, but it didn't work out, and now he knows he's behind. But you also know the power of Disruptors. He actually starts a Colossus. I don't know about that one, but okay.
Zombie Grub, I've said this before. I think I said this to you last season, and I'm gonna say it again. I'm actually okay with Colossus in PvP, but only when it's even or you're ahead. I really don't like Colossus when you're behind. I have never seen Colossus work for a player when they were already behind.
Yeah, we saw a couple of games where, you can get a Colossus to break out of a contain, or Neeb played around with a macro Colossus game because it was a pretty even passive game. I remember that. But yeah, when you're behind, they're definitely not a comeback tool. Perhaps thinking that their dependability on the high ground of Death Aura's 3 bases is going to be more worth than trying to catch up on Disruptors, which it would have been actually quite even on Disruptors. I can kind of see that. But Colossus, I mean, they're going to have even harder times putting away from Disruptors than anything else that the Protoss army has. I don't know. I don't know.
Great. So, I mean, at least a little bit of a start here, but a second Disruptor comes forward. It actually also ends up whiffing over here, but the problem is, during all of the splitting and dodging out Disruptor shots, MaxPax took an even larger Stalker lead over here. So he is continuing to push on forward. And there it is. We're going to see Disruptor shot landing on the Colossus. Second one nearly going to kill 2 of them, and the DT's coming from behind. MaxPax tying up the series 1-1.
Told you this guy has good PvP. That was an excellent hold around his third, and Drogo just could not make any comeback happen. Well done. Tied up series. We'll find out what happens in game 3 after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to yet another game number 3 here in this epic PvP as these two players collide. As Kalara said, young versus old here. And while PtitDrogo was able to win that first game, that second game looking a little bit tough.
I think you said new generation versus old generation here, Dragon.
It is new generation versus old generation.
Different than young versus old. Come on now.
Okay. They're like almost 8-9 years apart, I think. If I have my numbers correct, I think that Drogo's like around 24, right? 25.
Yeah. You know what? That does sound right.
And MaxPax is like 16.
Yeah,
that's almost 10 years. All right.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point.
Look, and I'll make myself feel old. In like 9 days, I'm basically going to be nearly double the age of MaxPax. Okay, so Drogo, there you go. I'm bringing us both down.
Oh my god. You are old, jeez. In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, he is MaxPax.
And up in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player representing team Raise Your Edge Gaming. It is PtitDrogo.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, when I heard old versus new generation, I agreed not based off of the age, but just off of the situation right now. Like, MaxPax is alongside, and you pointed this out too, all of these new Protoss are sweeping in. Europe has become a Protoss region more than the Zerg region, even though the better players are Zerg right now. The Protoss numbers and increase in skill is really nipping at their heels. So that's what I took it as, and it does ring true.
Yeah, I mean, like, just look at Group C, right? It's like MaxPax, Cougar, you got Skillis, and you got, you know, a few others that are up and coming, like King Cobra and stuff. Like, there are just so many Protoss players. This isn't even going into like some of the more well-known ones like Mana and Hearthstone. Like, it's nuts. It's actually just completely crazy how this region has shifted. But as a Protoss player, I deeply appreciate it.
Well, I mean, PvZ might be at a kind of passive place right now. It's like at a certain point you have to wait until something happens. I do like pretty much all the Protoss matchups. PvP has gotten really fun, and you know, Protoss players will still complain, rightfully so, but it's fun to watch. And PvT, I think, is actually a really good place as well. But MaxPax is the newest of the new. All these other guys are also very young. Like I think Skillos is like 18, but MaxPax is literally here because he's finally allowed to be here. Finally met the age requirements, and he is basically kind of where Raynor was 3 or 4 years ago, or Clem was 2 years ago.
They were all in the same year.
I know they were all in the same year, but I mean, like, he's at that point where he's new. We don't really know much if like what he can do, but if he goes along the same path, then he'll also be up there by, you know, next year or year and a half. He'll be one of the best.
No, I know what you mean. Although I always think it's funny when I think about Raynor's situation, because I still remember distinctly saying and thinking this out loud, during a broadcast where I was like, Raynor is beating some of the best players in the world, and he can't play in the circuit yet. Like, before he got into the circuit, he was actually beating some of the best players. That's absurd to think one of the best players in the world was actually at that point. But let's talk about this game a little bit. We did have some small shenanigans happening on both sides. We had a proxy pylon, I think, blocking out that nexus there for MaxPax for a little bit. MaxPax's own proxy pylon is getting scouted, but the Adepts, I mean, they don't actually fight versus 2 Stalkers one-on-one like that. But with 4 Adepts, well, now suddenly it's actually a bit of more of a fight.
It is, but then 3 and 4 Stalkers come forward and they bully back the Adepts, and it is a bit of a tug of war. MaxPax, I mean, it's nice for Drogo to find this pylon and even kill it, actually. 100 mineral is gone. There's supply block if you haven't considered it. That is annoying. It wasn't committed to.
The only thing I was going to say, though, is that, like, this gets weird because if your first 4 Stalkers are on the other side of the map, 4 Adepts, they can actually slowly kill a shield battery. Like, this gets a little bit weird. Oh my god, he doesn't shield battery in time. What? They got trapped on the other side of the 4th. Okay, well, first of all, sick reaction time there from Drogo. But amazing. Zombie Grub, I've seen so many PvPs. They've not seen a weird interaction like that before.
Neither have I. You know, best case scenario is that you stop the adepts from coming in, but I've never seen an adept like trapped, you know,
By the force field.
in
And
a
then
force field, basically.
both of the players end up just having to recall all their units out. And at the end of the day, it's like nearly all evened up.
Yeah.
MaxPax, I guess, slightly behind and resources lost.
Right, yes. Not only in like the resources lost, but just in general, I do really like Drogo's game plan there. That was kind of brilliant. We didn't really get to see the rise, like what the intentions were, but when you saw the end result, it was kind of genius. Drogo knew MaxPax was going to die with his adepts because he was just making the what was it going to be, like an 8 adept attack maybe before everything kind of went askew. And then said, you know what, I'll just also keep building units, but I'll build the right units defensively, find you in that trap, and then punish you for doing the adept thing. And like it almost works, but not quite. And now we're here, and MaxPax is doing something kind of abnormal. The 6 adept opener, that can happen, yeah, sure. But this little timing attack, like, it's just trying to find Drogo without any units, and it certainly has.
I mean, the fact that Drogo had these spotting stalkers is actually unbelievably sick. But yeah, that third base is definitely not going to be able to go up. There's one stalker now awkwardly sitting behind everything, which I guess could help try and pick off the warp prism in the midst of the battle, which I don't know, might actually end up being useful. But oh no, is Drogo even going to have it up? He gets 3 stalkers immediately trapped. The shield batteries are not finished in time. 2 of the stalkers have gone down. The 3rd stalker barely escapes out of there. But now Drogo's out of force fields himself, and he just does not have all that much over here to contend with this army. Shield battery's finishing up. Is it going to make or break the difference? He's not overcharging, though. He doesn't have the energy for it, I think.
This is turning really poor. This is not going to be a victory for Drogo.